Hi, everyone. We're about to get started with our session here. So I'll just give everyone a moment to find a seat as we begin. So just for those of you still making decisions on whether you've entered the right room or not, our presentation this morning is going to be on building capacity in patient-oriented research for trainees. I'd like to welcome you all here. My name is Kristen Haase. I'm an assistant professor at the School of Nursing at UBC here in Vancouver. And I'd like to start by just acknowledging that we are here today on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam people. And our UBC Point Grey campus is located on the traditional territory of the Musqueam people as well. So we are here to give thanks, and we also want to acknowledge that our work today that we're doing around patient-oriented research starts to sort of respond to some of those calls about interrupting who's involved in research and the calls from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. So I have the great honor here of today guiding this discussion, where we'll discuss challenges, opportunities, and best practices for training the next generation of researchers in patient-oriented research. We'll be drawing from real-world experiences and diverse perspectives from our esteemed panel. The speakers will also highlight collaborative strategies for capacity building in patient-oriented research. And what we are really most excited about is the opportunity to engage with all of you in the room and those who are online and answer questions. Not me, I just have the benefit of facilitating this session, but our panel members who are also very active in patient-oriented research. So we'll just give each of them a brief introduction, and then we're gonna launch right into our panel so that we have lots of time for discussion. So first we have Dr. Lilian Hung from the UBC School of Nursing. Beside her, we have Mario Gregorio, who is a patient partner in research. Next, we have Joey Wong, who is a doctoral student at UBC, and next to her we have Bonnie Leung, who is a doctoral candidate at UBC School of Nursing and a nurse practitioner at BC Cancer. So I'm going to turn it over to Lilian to get started.
Thank you so much, Kristen, and thank you so much to have the opportunity to be here to talk a little bit about patient-oriented research and what are some of the opportunities and challenges. So first of all, a little bit about myself. I am an assistant professor in the School of Nursing, and I hold a Canada Research Chair in Senior Care. And I have been doing patient-oriented research for a few years, yeah. I think recalling back to how did I get myself into the patient-oriented research was my PhD that I had a patient partner, Dr. Jim Mann, at that time that he was my advisor. Then we talked about how should I go about with my doctoral research, and we met at a coffee shop. We met every 6 weeks. We was in the coffee shop for 4 years of my PhD. So that I really received huge benefits about learning from his lived experience and a lot of his expertise about how I should do the research looking at improving dementia care. At that time, it was in the acute setting in Vancouver General Hospital. I also have other really wonderful patient partners and family partners. Annette's here today, that he was part of my advisory as well, and how we work together. So I guess I wanted to pay forward. And so that was like 2013, so it's about 10 years now. So ever since that, when I finished my PhD, every single project that I do that I involve patient and family partners. And when I think about the opportunities, like thinking back like all of these years what I have gained and what are some of the benefits of doing this kind of research is really relationship, I think. I gain a lot of wonderful, wonderful relationship. Like when I need to do, thinking about a new research grant that I'm thinking about that maybe I could do, and I will send an email or call Annette or Lynn is here that I was just recently talking to her about a new research grant, then she would say yes, and then we could talk about how we should go about it. And if I needed someone to help us, that we have a table for this conference, I need someone to help me to introduce our research to the public. Then I asked, like, Lily, can you come and help? And Lily would say, I'm going to book the handy dart to help you to look after the table. So it's really wonderful relationship that we have doing the research. Mario, we have gone to dim sum. Yeah, okay, I'll save that for you. Yeah, so I think one of the really great opportunities, it's about having those relationships, and having those relationships help us to think about what are some of the priority, how we should go about the research questions and the methods. But without the relationship that we have built over the years, and it would not be the same. So I think that was one of the really great opportunities that we had. It was really those relationships. And I think about challenge. The challenge also, it was the relationship, right? Because it's not easy, especially in the last few years with the pandemic, and how we go about like to support each other to do the work. And I work with the older adults populations, and people often, people could have, the disease process, and people situation change, and even any of us that we could have, like, things happen to our lives, right? So it's really about like making those adjustments and accommodating to people, being flexible, and really knowing each person, their unique strengths or talents, and how they could, like, what they would like to do and how they could contribute to the research. I think it's some of the things that I have learned over the years, yeah. So I know, like, Lily's good at doing certain things, and she's willing to learn how to use a robot to do interviews, and she would do that, and I could partner her up with students to do that. And yeah, so I think that's what I wanted to say. So I'm going to pass it to the next speaker.
Yes, yeah. Thanks, Lillian. Mario.
Thank you. And that's Lily Wong, just in case you don't know. So good morning. My name is Mario Gregorio. I retired from TELUS, a telecommunications company, 15 years ago after I was diagnosed with cognitive impairment or dementia. Current literature at that time offered no hope. The message is prepare to die because there is no cure, or worse, prepare to spend the rest of your life in a long-term care home. Despite the valiant efforts of our wonderful, wonderful medical care providers at these institutions, it is not a place that I choose. Late-stage dementia has been described as death before death or the walking dead. By this point, the disease has systematically wiped out huge chunks of brain tissue, effectively erasing the ability to speak, eat, swallow, or even smile. A late-stage patient needs care 24 hours a day, with everything from getting dressed to walking to the bathroom. They are utterly dependent on others. And the race against time are guided with certain zeal that one day the researchers will find a cure. And every day there's always something new and exciting and innovative to help people living with dementia. The last 10 years has given us a glimpse of the future. This is artificial intelligence, digital technology, and robotics. However, in the race to provide modern technology, we tend to forget the left behind, the underserved groups in our society. I speak about the seniors, members of multi-ethnic communities whose ethnicity, social class, and spirituality and common behavior I'm sorry, I look at lost. Yes, I have very short-term memory, and once I'm lost, I couldn't find it. And they have common behavior like the LGBT community and people with shared conditions like the deaf culture, people in prison, and the homeless. They are marginalized. But what is a patient partner? I looked at Simon Fraser's website and I found this description, which I think is very appropriate. Patient partners are equal members of research teams and provide input during various steps of a research study. This could include study design, priority setting, gathering and analyzing data, and helping distribute and implement research results. And this is exactly what we do at IDEALab. Allow me to give you a glimpse of the involvement of a patient partner at IDEALab headed by Dr. Leung. Most of the time, we call it a working lunch over dim sum or a Vietnamese soup. These meals are a fuel to my brain cells. Over these delicious morsels of food, an idea is proposed. For example, what if we build a robot that will help calm a flustered or upset resident with dementia? The next task is to find stakeholders like engineers, commercial venturers, and research students and volunteers. The patient partner is usually invited to write a letter of support to accompany the application. After the grant is approved, the lead researcher solicits the assistance of the patient partner to design a workshop to get feedback from members of the community with diverse background. This allows us to create guidelines on how to conduct the research, how to interpret the data collected, and how to write the final paper. In other words, the patient partner is always consulted in every aspect of the research. He is acknowledged as a co-author and given due recognition for his, And lastly, allow me to share with you some of the challenges we sometimes encounter in our research. Every year, from May to September, we have the opportunity to employ students from different countries like Germany, China, India, and other parts of the world. English is a second language to these students, and most of the time, the patient partners have taken the additional task of mentoring them in writing their paper to conform with the North American style of writing. They pass with flying colors as evidenced by the many research papers published under the banner of IDEALab. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mario. That's a tough act to follow, Joey. I apologize, but Joey and Bonnie now will shift us a little more into the trainee perspective. So Joey, go ahead.
Hello everyone, I'm Joey and I'm a PhD student in School of Nursing with Lillian and Mario and all the patient partners and family partners. So I am a registered nurse from my background, and then I haven't worked with patient or family partners before I entered the IDEALab, which I have privilege with working with them with so much great experience. And I am passionate, like after working with them, like I am very passionate in co-researching with them, and then also creating innovative ideas, and also have like explore different kind of adventures and everything with them. So I was told by Lillian to talk about what I like about working with Mario specifically. So Mario and I work closely together. We are in the first project that I work in IDEALab, which is the telepresence robot project. He is we have the assumption from the definition of patient-oriented research that we need to involve patient partners from the beginning to the end of the research. So we have the assumption that, we should involve patient partner in every task in the research team. But actually that's not the case, because Mario said, I'm not interested in a scoping review. So sometimes he or other patient partners actually have their own talents and also their own choice and options that we have learned throughout the process that we should list out the tasks that we provided for them, and then clearly state what is inside the task, and we will have the invitation, and if they are very interested or like they have talents in that task, then they will be happy and enjoy the process throughout. So for example, Mario is like very interested and also talented in knowledge translation. So Mario and I have been working in presentation, like virtual presentation, making all kinds of poster design and also like buttons and different kind of designs that we do in the community. So that is what I learned from when I work with Mario. And also what I like about Mario is that he is always inspiring and then motivate me to step out of my comfort zone. So I work with him because I particularly like passionate about community work. So with Mario and also Lily's connection with the community, so I get to really step into the community and also have some community work. There are some community booths that we are doing more and more, and then I'm also like writing grant application with Mario for some community funding that we are sharing our research, and also we are sharing information about dementia, and also we want to initiate dementia support group in the community. And also particularly in the community that Mario mentioned is underrepresented and with different cultural backgrounds. Yeah, so we are trying out everything that we can or we may not be able to do now, but then we are doing it together. So that is how, like working with patient partner, especially with old adults, like sometimes like they would teach me using their experience, like yeah, like relationship or how do you face people or talking to people. So I guess that's the thing that I want to share.
Can I just add?
Yes, go ahead, add.
Something? Joey, I love scoping reviews. And sometimes Joey and I think of small ideas that not within the scope of IDEALab, like how about having a flash mob for people with dementia? Or how about starting basic ukulele 12 session course? So this may be not within the robotics, but still it involves social connections and hopefully alleviate loneliness for people, especially the seniors. Thank you.
Thanks, Mario. That's a great comment. And Joey, great comment about preferences. I think that's something that we, as co-researchers with people with lived and living experience, we need to accommodate, right? We want people to be partners, but we also want them to be partners in things they actually enjoy. So thank you, Joey. So I'm going to hand it now over to Bonnie.
Hi everyone, I am Bonnie Leung. I am a PhD student still, not quite a candidate yet, but fingers crossed. And I'm also a nurse practitioner at BC Cancer here in Vancouver. I want to first off just fully disclose that I'm a novice to patient-oriented research. I am privileged to be a nurse and be able to, I've been practicing for almost 20 years, so I've been working with patients for many, many years and working in cancer care. I have the privilege and honor of working alongside patients and their caregivers during really difficult and vulnerable times. And so what that has taught me as a student is the importance of building relationships and really listening to what some of the issues that people are facing, not just in the healthcare system, but what they're experiencing in the community. And so a lot of my research ideas and questions come from working with patients and their caregivers. And so I really appreciate that I'm in that privileged and honor, like in that position that I can have that, the opportunities to do so. What I do want to talk about specifically is being in these two roles as a clinician and also as a research student, because I personally, I find that there's a lot of challenges for me because I have those dual roles as trying to balance different priorities. Of course, there's my professional priority and attending to the people that I work alongside with, but also trying to take that clinician hat off when I'm working with my patient partners, to not be their clinician, not to try to fix their problems, because that's my automatic response is, you're telling me this is a problem, I want to fix it for you. Can I fix it for you? And that's been a bit of a challenge because that's just the way that I am being a nurse. And then another problem that I think that I encounter is just finding the time and finding the recognition working in a health system. I work in a very medically driven model of care in cancer care. So really, as a student, I'm trying to promote the idea of the importance of patient-oriented research because it's very data and medicine-driven where I work. And so I find my role as I'm learning in this PhD program is sharing my experiences of the importance of working with patients. Like, for example, trying to get a patient partner to attend a cancer conference and trying to allow them to present and give, not allow, but give them the opportunity to share their voices and their experiences. And I feel that is my role because I am a clinician and the clinicians will listen to me. And also just to advocate that not everything is about science and data. It's the importance of the narratives that we often don't hear. So I think that's kind of one of my roles as a student that I'm learning. I think the main takeaway for me working in this as a clinician and a student is really listen. There are many opportunities for us when we're in these opportunities. Just say yes, but also not say too many yeses, because I'm learning that I'm a little bit overburdened with opportunities. But listen and say yes, and don't be afraid to ask questions and stand up to our very traditional medically driven healthcare system, and try to broaden everybody's minds, and that's the only way that we can implement changes in the healthcare system. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Bonnie. So now I'm going to just open up the room for questions because there were lots of nice little pieces of information there that I'm sure people want to learn more about, as well as online. So if there are questions online, you can type in a question. If you're in the room and you're more comfortable putting a question in the chat, the microphones are open, or we can bring a microphone to you if you need. If that's the case, raise your hand. Yes.
Testing. You can hear me okay? Great. I think my question is, do you have advice for trainees or people supporting trainees to help them incorporate patient-oriented research practices into their thesis work or dissertation work, given that relationship building takes a long time and trainees are on limited schedules and timelines?
That's a great question. Thank you, Mary. Do you want to take that one, Lillian?
Yeah, I'll speak a little bit, and maybe Mario could add. And so, yeah, I did that myself, like with my PhD. And yes, it takes time and to build that relationship, and also takes more than time. I think it also takes a lot of time, not just like spending the time with the patient partner, but also spending the time to self-reflect about what it means, because I have a lot of assumption about what it is about working with people with dementia. And I was kind of like Joey, that, I was naive, and then, it challenges every time when I had those coffee with my advisor, and I learned a lot. So first of all, I would say it's very rewarding, but it does take investment. So working with your supervisors and make sure that your supervisor would support you to do those investments would be really important, because I know that if I don't do the investment, if I only ask Jim that I wrote this and what do you think, and it's just asking for his approval, then he wouldn't feel respected, because he was not able to be informed all the way along about how we go about the research, and how he would not be able to provide those inputs all of the way. So engage the the patient partner early and having him as an advisor in your PhD, and talk to your supervisor how about to make the process formal, and have him to provide inputs when you draft your proposal, and talk about methodology with that person, and so make sure that person is it's with you all the way along, instead of after you have done everything and just asking for that that check box, and that would not be very meaningful. So if that's what I would advise, yeah.
Thanks, Lillian. Mario, do you have something you want to add?
Just a short comment on that one, if I may. I read a book called The Frog in the Pond. So basically, it takes a lot of kissing frogs before you meet somebody who really serve the purpose that you intend to. So I make it a point when I go to a gathering like this, I make it a point to know strangers from 3 to 5. I don't leave the room without knowing 3 or 5 people. And then I just keep a note, make sure you put it a note, and probably say their name 3 or 4 times, and hopefully you remember it. If not, write it down. And also attending conferences or even community fairs like people with dementia, you get to meet people that may be interested, they just do not know who to approach and where to get these people. In other words, go out in the community and try to find out people that may potentially be useful in the research project. And unfortunately, sometimes patient partners are used so that they can write a paper, whatever, and then they forget about it. It's a nurturing process wherein you develop that culture of getting to know them. And at IDEALab during summertime, during the COVID, we get care packages of coconut drinks or anything that would remind them, hey, we care, that kind of thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mario. Lots of great points there, and really appreciate the contribution. I have to say, Lillian sets a very high bar. She's my colleague, and she sets a very high bar for engaging with her co-researchers. I have not sent care packages. That is something I aspire to do. And I think that's a great challenge from Mario for all of us in the room to meet 3 to 5 new people today. So you've all been challenged by Mario to, exchange information and make those contacts. We do have one question online. I don't see anything in the room at this point, but feel free to make your way up to the microphones if there's a question burning on your mind, or give us a wave. Is that Kent? Yeah, I can come on over. Woo. Might knock down some furniture on the way, but I'll get there. It's nice to meet you in person. We've been on the planning committee together.
Right, and I wanted to take this opportunity to say hello again to Lillian and to Mario. I've known each of you in various capacities since several years ago. Mario, you came to join us in our flagship team-based care training program called Health Mentors Program. I was the one who interviewed you into the program at that time. I don't know if you still remember me, but I'm interested in asking the panel, and maybe this is a little more specific to the nature of your research, but when people in the general public hear dementia, they don't commonly understand that dementia is a spectrum. They automatically think of end-stage Alzheimer's disease. And so how have you been able to use patient engagement, and have you been successful enough in your diversity of recruitment to be able to demonstrate the differing patient experiences across the spectrum of dementia types?
If I can answer that first. I was diagnosed with vascular cognitive impairment 15 years ago. And at that time, the doctor said 7 to 12 years. So that is the normal, that is a standard answer. Prepare your will, prepare your financial resources. But I think I'm a living example of a person who did not stop from living. So at that time I said, oh, I was diagnosed with something that probably I will not live more than 7 years. So I said, maybe I can do something useful, if not for me, but for the next wave of people that will be diagnosed. So looking at people with dementia, we just don't look at Alzheimer. We look at the other other forms of dementia, and they could function really well. As I might have seen, I stumble because of my short-term memory losses. So what? I will remember it later, or maybe, hey, tough luck. So I don't dwell on it anymore. Before, I was obsessed about making mistakes. I don't care if if I make mistakes, so I'm still here, kind of thing. I hope that answers the question.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, having partners like Mario, it's a really great way to kind of raise awareness and also to do to let the public know that there are people living well with dementia, and they could do great things to change how we see our society, to make our society to be inclusive, that everyone could live together and have a good life. And I think it's really important when we work with patient partners that we don't work with one patient partner. It's important that we work with patient partners that they've come from all diverse backgrounds. So we work with people with different types of dementia, and we work with people that with different stages of dementia. So we do have people that they're in later stages of dementia, and we are very passionate about going to the population that they're underserved. And we look at technology, how technology could support people that they're with moderate and later stage of dementia, and how they could support them. So so I hope that kind of like helped to answer the questions. And I think doing a lot of, like the students are very great, doing a lot of knowledge mobilization, going out there and showing to the public with like the work that we are doing, and like what Lily today here, and like going to the table and telling people about like the work that we do, and how Lean sometimes going to like a VCHRI newsletter and telling people that we are working on that this dementia-friendly communities project, like having these real people telling their stories. I think it helps, yeah.
Thanks, Lillian. Thanks, Mario. There is a question online. I'm just going to go to that one, but I'm anxious to get to you as well. So the question is, and the question is directed to the PIs on the panel, but I'm actually going to turn it around and also, bring it to the trainees as well, because you may have a different view. So the question is about the approaches or plan to enable trainee capacity in your SPORE initiative, and that's speaking to, I suppose, the two of us as people who lead patient-oriented research. How do you build capacity for trainees? What are the things that you do?
One of the really key thing, I think, is we always go back to the key principles of SPORE, right? And think about being inclusive and offering the support, the mutual respect, and also co-building things together. So it's not just, doing the ticky box. So these core 4 principles of SPORE, it lives in the everyday practice in my lab, in the work that we do. The students understand that when they work with the patient partners, that they are seeing patient partners as equal partners, that they are not just someone that they're gonna, make use of them for applications or whatever, yeah. So I think being very clear about those core values and the principles, it's important, yeah. And we talk about that when we recruit students and lab members to the lab, yeah.
Yeah, I would just add, while I see Bonnie's writing a note there, so I'll give her a minute. I think I would just add, there is some similarity in my approach with trainees as with our patient co-researchers, in that they have a specific objective, which is to finish their program. And we have lots of ideas and projects that we want them to be involved in. So there is also, we throw out ideas sometimes, hey, there's this project, would you like to be involved in it? With the expectation that it's great if they want to be involved, but it's totally fine if they don't want to be involved, right? Because, we understand that there are competing demands. Many of our trainees have families, they may have caregiving responsibilities, they may have other employment, and so I think that's one of my sort of expectations as well, as sort of seeing the whole person and allowing opportunities for them to engage in a way that's meaningful to them and builds on the strengths that they have. So, for example, Bonnie being an embedded nurse practitioner brings different strengths and needs, well, I'll let you speak for yourself, but you have different interests that we, work on fostering together. And I would also say the learning is very much bi-directional when we work with trainees. I certainly feel that I learn a lot from my trainees as they're learning different approaches and working with patients and bringing new approaches to how they work with our patient co-researchers. I'll hand it over to the two of you, whomever would like to go first.
Yeah, so I guess is what Lillian said is, I guess the research lab, the lead of the research lab, who is Lillian, really brings out the culture, and then the research members, or like not called senior research member, but the members that are more experienced in the lab, really, I think is the key people who need to be really knowing what they are doing with the patient partner, so that the new team members that join the lab, they can know that, you are working like this with the patient partner, because they have no experience working with patient partner, and we are all learning. But then our experience of what we do will directly influence how they work with patient partners, and that respect, and also the culture that we build on, and also how the patient partner or family partner reflect their comments to us. Those will be important for especially new trainees that join the lab, no matter they are like experienced clinician or like newly joined nursing graduates. But then those experience that build from Lillian and also the other lab members and also the collaborators with us, like we have different researchers that work with us. Their values are very important for trainees, especially to learn from each other, like how you work with patient partners, and then how different projects work with patient partners. That works, then the other projects may learn from the other projects in the lab. And also, like, through this kind of conference, I think it's a good way for us to encourage trainees to attend and then share with each other their learnings. I guess it's that sharing of culture and the research, how the research lab is built and also grow, makes a difference with the individual's experience of work, and then they will spread out to others.
Thanks, Joey. That reference to sort of the individual and collective is really helpful. Bonnie, do you have something you'd like to add?
I was just going to say what Joey said.
Okay.
But really, it's as a trainee, I'm really grateful for the opportunities that my supervisors provide for me to observe and learn how to respectfully and meaningfully engage with our patient partners, and also just having patient partners that are super patient with us as we're learning our roles and how to communicate, how to be respectful of their time, of their experience and their expertise. So it's really just building those capacities, and again, just not being afraid to fail or not being afraid to make mistakes, because I feel really safe and protected with the people that I'm working with. But really what Joey said.
Yeah, Mario, please.
I was wondering, Mario, you have something to add about
just a very quick comment on what Joey said about the more experienced researchers at IDEALab. A few weeks ago, I sponsored a Chinese dinner for 3 of our students. So Joey being the senior of the students, we now have 2 biomedical students. And we're talking about, what did we talk about? We talked about the funding, and then because Joey coached one of them to write a grant for the ukulele lesson, and it was amazing that with her tutoring the student, he was very successful in the application. So we celebrated that one. And at the same time, we talked about ChatGPT and Bard and the application of this new technology towards the doll. So I told them I bought a doll from a second-hand shop and I cut the head off. I'm sorry. cut the brain part, and then we intend to put a speaker in it. And these are the exploration of new technologies. So we don't have funding, so we have to get our dolls from the second-hand stores. So these are the ideas born from mentoring from Joey's being now the senior, passing the baton towards the new students that we have at IDEALab. Thank you.
I feel like we strayed a bit from the original question, but got so much good information here. And I think I also want to say, like, ingenuity is so helpful, learning together, and, you know, recapping on Bonnie's comment of sort of not being afraid to sort of, we are going to fail, we are going to make mistakes, but how do we learn and grow and correct for the next time, and having a lot of humility with your team about, you know, making those mistakes. One of my longtime research partners, we had one of our first sort of confrontations when I submitted an ethics application to a grant she was very much involved in without her looking at the ethics application, because I thought, who the heck would want to look at an ethics application if you didn't have to? And it just created such a great opportunity for me as a researcher to be able to have those questions, like, what, you know, we've already talked about this, but what would you like to be involved in? Do you want to write a paper? No. Do you want to be involved in making a presentation? Yes, but always giving the opportunity to sort of step in or step out, and especially for folks who maybe aren't familiar with the research process, because it is a whole different sort of language. How do we, you know, I guess one of our challenges is how we make that accessible both to trainees and patient co-researchers so they know when they want to get on or off the train, right? All right, you've been patiently waiting, so please go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. So I am Sultan. I am working in long-term care as a clinician, and I have medical background. I have done my diploma in gerontology. So as you are talking about the labs, so I am thinking what more research we can do. Suppose second-degree dementia people, he's thinking something, and you can put the artificial intelligence. We can use these things, and that thinking, they can convert it, and they can answer their questions. So in this way, we can put some new method or new research. Are you looking for these things or not?
Yeah, did you want to, you've done some work in AI. Did you want to add anything or follow-up question?
So I just want to clarify the questions and how research can be done to support long-term care and make real impact. Yeah, for people the folks in long-term care. Yes, and I mean, we have done projects that's driven by patient and family partners, and also the frontline staff that they told us about some of the pressing problems that they faced. And I can give you a couple examples. Like during the pandemic, that we work on a telepresence robot project that Joey led, which was to answer the questions about, like, people with dementia were struggling and their families struggling to make their virtual calls now with the iPad. So we brought in a robot that makes it a lot easier for people with dementia, that they're able to connect without zero effort, because the family would take the lead and, you know, make the call, and the robot would come to the person, and then they could just talk. So that was one of the examples. So the questions and the methodology and how we go about the research will all come up from the team. We normally will have a Zoom call that we have patient and family partners, like frontline staff, and, you know, and students from biomedical engineering, nursing, psychology. We all come together to do the research. Yeah. So another maybe newer project is looking at how we could also use robotics to address, like, social isolations. Like, these are like social robots. The other one, that the telepresence robot, was for to have to make virtual calls, and we're also looking at like the Eva robot, and how the robot could come around using ChatGPT and talk to the residents, so they could you know, they can be engaged in conversations. Yeah. So Mario.
Just an addition, sorry, just to add another layer of what Lillian said is sometimes the students will design questions for that to be asked, and then this is forwarded to the patient partners. Are these questions something that are disrespectful? Because sometimes we use academic language that may not be suitable for, or maybe taken in another way. So we want to make sure that the questions that are asked during the evaluations are sensitive to the needs of the people with dementia, especially with seniors. Thank you.
Thanks, Mario. Yes, go ahead. I think we have time for one last question in the room, and we have a few questions online. So we'll do our best to get through a few more. Go ahead, please.
Sure, and thanks for your talk, everyone. I'm a trainee at UBC, and I feel like there's a bit of a mismatch. We're hearing from CIHR, from patients in the room, the importance of patient-oriented research and approaches. We know it leads to better science, it's cited more, and yet this work seems to be really undervalued and under-supported, particularly for graduate trainees. When I submit my progress report, it's not asking me how many coffees I had, how many patients I engaged with, it's how many publications, have you reached candidacy yet? And it takes longer when you're working with patients. So I'm wondering, I guess, two questions, one being, how can we push our institutions to start valuing and funding this work? You know, if it takes you 5 years instead of 4, that 5th year isn't probably going to be funded in the same way. So, you know, are we seeing movements? How can we push our institutions further? And second, how do you, as a trainee, capture those process-oriented moments, those coffees, those engagements, those workshops? How are you able to document that? Does that go into your thesis, or is that just more work that sort of goes undocumented and on the side? So yeah, those two questions. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Can we have another hour? I have a lot to say. No, I think patient-oriented research takes more time and costs more money, but it is so much more valuable. Like, I don't know. I think in the early stages, it's hard because you're struggling against those structures, right? That are sort of the taken for granted structure of this is your timeline, this is how fast you have to go through. But you soon see that there's so much learning in the relational aspect of patient-oriented research and the struggles and the failures and all the learning that comes along with that. So no, there is no point on your progress report for those coffees, but those are the things that build the relationship, that deepen your knowledge, that make you an expert. And I think this does sort of capture one of the questions that's online as well, which I'll just kind of weave in and then throw it back to the panel, which is about, you know, postdocs making the transition to independent roles, and again, trying to sort of qualify that. And I think I see some folks here from Michael Smith here in the front row. And, you know, I think that there is an opportunity in some of those applications now to situate your program of research within the sort of larger program of research to say, hey, you know, like, I'm a new grad and I only have 5 publications instead of 25. But for people who are doing community engaged and patient engaged research that takes so much longer, look at the value. I've been presenting with my partners. I've been doing online meetings. So I think there is a more comprehensive way to situate the work that you're doing. It's not easy, but, you know, finding mentors who do that type of work and will support that, I think, is really important. So I'll throw it to the panel now, maybe starting with Lillian, if you want to jump in.
And I think there are little tricks that you can also do. And for the paper publications, they don't always have to be results of your research. If that's the case, then you have to wait for a long time, right? You can write about your reflection, about how you work with patient partners. And there are good journals out there that will publish these kind of journals, yeah. And you can co-author with your patient partners. So there, it's about making some adjustment to look at the structures. And I think the structure is adjusting. I think there is a growing awareness about the importance of patient and public involvement around the world. So Canada is also right there. So I think you are leading at the forefront, and it's really worthwhile when you think about doing the research that really actually gonna make a difference that change people's life. It's not gonna be sitting at the library on the shelf, yeah.
And I think I can answer to like putting my time in doing all kinds of different types of work. I don't think it's like a waste of time or it's like I don't really question my investment. I don't really question like what is the value of my investment towards my like academic pathway, but rather I see it as like opportunities, and also I enjoy like doing those kinds of work because like if you always think about writing papers or stuff, it would be like so stressful or like boring. But then those community work is leading you to something that you won't think about, like what Mara and I are doing. We try to actually share our work with the community, but then we actually get patient partners from the community to join our lab. And then also like we are trying to actually understand what they actually need. But if we are not going to the community, then how can we say that we are working with people? Because we are working only with words or we're working with text. But then it's maybe slightly, maybe in different fields, because in the gerontology world, I think we have like supportive researchers like Mariko and also like Habib in SFU. They are really like these researchers and scholars, they are really supportive in that area for having patient partners and family partners there. But then I think if maybe for other fields, they may be like still in the first step or like the first few steps, that I think is like if you have that first step going, and then like Lillian said, you write reflection paper, and then you may stimulate, and then also you can like join forces with other trainees that are interested in this kind of work in your field. I guess that supportive network will grow, and then I think, yeah, the passion that inside the field will grow, and then that's where you have supportive scholars, and then you may become one of them, and then you can support the trainees to do those kind of work.
Quickly, Bonnie.
One comment. I think the main thing, I struggle with the whole the time and establishing genuine relationships, because I want to work with older immigrants who don't speak English. So, trying to get funding as a student to do translation and interpretive services is impossible. But I think what's helpful is just looking in the literature and seeing what other researchers, who else are doing this kind of work, and reaching out to them, because I find most of the time they're very willing to provide you with tips and guidance and maybe even opportunities to collaborate and learn. So, we just have to keep putting in those submissions and trying to like promote these concepts and these new ideas out there. Again, not being afraid to fail, because I'm going to fail, and just trying to put it out there and see what happens. But there are a lot of nice mentors and collaborators out there. It is timely, unfortunately. For now, we'll make it better.
That's a great question. Mario, do you have anything you want to add? I see that the timer is counting down. It's in the yellow zone now, so that means we're almost finished. I want to thank everyone. We didn't get to all the questions online, and I'm sure there are more questions in the room, and I just want to offer that we'll be here for a few minutes to answer additional questions, and really just thank all of you for listening and attending today and learning with us. And I'd like to thank Bonnie and Joey and Mario and Lillian, and thank you all. And I love to finish early, so we're finishing 20 seconds early, but any little bit counts. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day today. We could keep going for another 2 hours, couldn't we?